I couldn't reach my daughter for 5 days. When I went to her house, I heard scratching under the bed. Chapter 1. The phone felt heavy in my hand. I had called her 47 times in 5 days. Each call went straight to voicemail. The first day, I told myself she was busy. She was a busy woman. A good job. A nice house. A life of her own. The second day, I left a message. Just checking in, honey. Call your mother back. The third day, the message was shorter. Please, Sarah. Just let me know you're okay. The fourth day, I started to shake when I dialed. The fifth day, I couldn't sit still anymore. I drove the 45 minutes to her house without music. Without the radio. I needed to think. But all I could think about was the last time I saw her. 2 weeks ago. Sunday dinner. She seemed fine. A little tired, maybe. But fine. She hugged me at the door. She said she loved me. Normal things. The kind of things you don't remember until they're gone. Her house sat at the end of a quiet cul-de-sac in a suburb of Cleveland. Neat lawns. Mailboxes with numbers on them. The kind of neighborhood where people wave at each other. Where nothing bad happens. I parked my old Ford in the driveway, right behind her Honda. That was a good sign. Her car was here. She wasn't on a trip. She wasn't at a friend's house. She was here. Or she should be. The front door was closed. I knocked. No answer. I rang the bell. Nothing. I pressed my face against the living room window, but the blinds were drawn tight. I could see the outline of her lamp. The edge of her sofa. No movement. My phone buzzed in my pocket. I pulled it out, hoping it was her. It was just a spam call. I let it go to voicemail. I walked around the side of the house. The backyard gate was unlocked. That was odd. Sarah always locked that gate. She said it made her feel safe. I stepped into the yard. The grass was overgrown. That was odd too. Sarah was meticulous about her lawn. She mowed every Saturday. Rain or shine. It hadn't rained in a week. But the grass was tall. It looked like no one had cut it in at least 2 weeks. The back door was a sliding glass door. I could see through it into the kitchen. The dishes were in the sink. A coffee mug on the counter. A half-eaten bagel sitting on a plate. The milk was out on the counter. The milk had gone bad. I could see the curdled chunks from outside. That bagel had been there for days. I tried the sliding door. It was locked. I cupped my hands around my eyes and peered in harder. The house was still. Too still. The air inside seemed thick. Heavy. The kind of thick you feel when no one has breathed in it for a long time. My heart started to pound. Not a fast pound. A slow, heavy pound. The kind that hurts your chest. I went back to the front door. I tried the knob one more time. Locked. I looked under the welcome mat. No key. I looked on top of the door frame. No key. Sarah and I had a rule. We always hid a key. She broke the rule. Or someone else did. I called the police. I explained the situation calmly. My daughter is missing. I haven't heard from her in 5 days. Her car is here. Her milk is curdled. They asked if she was an adult. Yes. They asked if she had a history of disappearing. No. They said they would send a car. The police officer arrived 20 minutes later. A young man with a shaved head and tired eyes. He knocked on the door. No answer. He looked at the windows. He walked around the back. He noticed the overgrown lawn. He noticed the milk. He didn't say much. He took out a small toolkit. He picked the lock on the back sliding door. It took him 30 seconds. The door slid open with a groan. A smell hit me. It wasn't the smell of death. It was the smell of stale air. Of dishes left too long. Of a house that had been closed up for days. The officer went in first. I followed close behind. We walked through the kitchen. The bagel was hard. The milk had separated. The air was warm. The thermostat must have been on. Sarah, I called out. My voice echoed off the walls. No answer. We moved into the living room. The TV was off. The remote was on the coffee table. A blanket was draped over the armchair. A book was open on the side table. It was face down. The spine was cracked. She had been reading it. Then she stopped. The officer checked the upstairs. I heard his footsteps on the creaking stairs. I heard him open doors. I heard him say, "Clear." He came back down. No one up there, he said. Let's check the basement. He opened the basement door. A musty smell rushed up. The stairs were wooden and steep. The officer flipped a light switch. A single bulb illuminated a concrete floor. Washer. Dryer. A shelf with old boxes. No Sarah. We went back to the living room. I don't understand, I said. Her car is here. Her phone is here. I can call it. I can hear it. I dialed her number. I listened. Faintly, from somewhere in the house, I heard the buzz of a phone on vibrate. It was coming from the kitchen. I went back to the kitchen. The phone was on the counter, under a napkin. Her phone. The screen was dark. The battery was dead. The officer looked at me. Is there anywhere else she might go? A friend's house, a relative? No, I said. She would have told me. She always tells me. He sighed. Sometimes adults need space. Maybe she needed a break. Maybe she went somewhere without her phone. She didn't, I said. I know my daughter. She didn't. I sat down on her sofa. The cushion was cold. I felt the fabric with my hand. I looked around the room. Everything was in its place. The photos on the mantel. The little porcelain cat collection she inherited from her grandmother. The vase of dried flowers. Everything was perfect. Too perfect. I leaned back on the sofa. I stared at the ceiling. I was trying to think. Trying to figure out where she could be. Then I heard it. A scratch. I froze. I tilted my head. I listened. A scratch. Like nails on wood. It came from the floor. From somewhere in the room. I looked at the officer. He was looking at the floor, too. Did you hear that? I whispered. He nodded. He drew his gun. He pointed it at the floor. We both stared at the worn-out rug in the center of the room. Underneath it, an old hardwood floor. I watched the rug. It was flat. Smooth. Nothing under it. Then I heard it again. A scratching sound. But it wasn't from the rug. It was from the bedroom. The bedroom was down a short hallway, just off the living room. The door was open. The room was dark. The officer moved toward it, his gun out. I followed him. I felt my knees shaking. I held onto the doorframe to steady myself. The officer flicked on the light. The bedroom was neat. The bed was made. The pillows were fluffed. The curtains were drawn. It looked like a hotel room. Sterile. Perfect. The scratching came again. It was coming from underneath the bed. The officer bent down. He lifted the bed skirt. He peered into the darkness. He was quiet for a long moment. Then he looked up at me. His face had changed. He wasn't tired anymore. He was confused. Alarmed. What is it? I asked. My voice was thin. Weak. There's something here, he said. A box. A wooden box. It's big. It's locked with a padlock. Did you see scratches? I asked. I didn't need to, he said. I can hear it. But I don't see anything moving. Nothing in here is alive. He pulled the box out from under the bed. It was a large footlocker. Dark brown. Heavy. A steel padlock secured the latch. The lock was old. Rusty. The box looked like it had been there for years. It might be from her college days, I said. She kept a trunk in her dorm. The officer shook his head. It's been under here a while, he said. But the scratches are new. The sound stopped. As soon as I touched it, he shook the box. Something shifted inside. It was a heavy, soft thump. Not metal. Not wood. Something organic. Something solid. My stomach turned. Step back, ma'am, he said. He aimed his gun at the lock. He fired once. The sound was deafening in the small room. The lock shattered. The metal pieces skittered across the floor. I covered my ears. I felt ringing. I watched him lift the latch. The box didn't open quickly. It resisted. The hinges were old. He had to pry it open with his fingers. A smell hit me. A sweet, cloying smell. The smell of something that had been closed up. The smell of sweat. And blood. The officer's face went pale. He stepped back. He dropped the lid. It closed with a crash. What is it? I screamed. What's in there? He turned to me. His mouth opened, but no words came out. He just stared at me. His eyes were wide. His hand holding the gun was shaking. Ma'am, he said, his voice cracking. Please stay back. I didn't stay back. I pushed past him. I grabbed the lid of the trunk. My hands were shaking. I pulled it open. I didn't care about evidence. I didn't care about procedure. I needed to see. The trunk was full of old clothes. Her high school varsity jacket. A scarf I knitted her for Christmas. Some old jeans. A red sweater she wore to her first job interview. The clothes were piled on top of each other. But beneath them, there was a shape. A human shape. It was a man. He was curled up in the fetal position. His body was wedged between the clothes and the bottom of the trunk. He was dressed in a dirty white t-shirt and stained pants. He was thin, gaunt. His wrists were bound with zip ties. His ankles were bound too. A strip of duct tape covered his mouth. His eyes were open. They were wild, terrified. They were locked on me. He wasn't dead. He was breathing. His chest was rising and falling in short, rapid gasps. The scratching sound I had heard was his fingernails. He had been scratching at the inside of the trunk lid. Trying to get out. I screamed. I couldn't help it. The officer pushed me aside. He holstered his gun and knelt down. He pulled the tape off the man's mouth. The man gasped. He sucked in air like he was drowning. He let out a sob. A deep, guttural sob. The sound was raw and broken. Who are you? The officer asked. Who did this to you? The man just shook his head. He was crying. Tears streamed down his dirty face. He was trying to speak, but he couldn't get the words out. It's okay, I said. I knelt down next to the officer. I reached into the trunk. I touched the man's shoulder. He flinched. He was shaking uncontrollably. It's okay. We're going to help you. Just take your time. The officer pulled out a pocket knife. He cut the zip ties on the man's wrists, then his ankles. The man immediately pulled his knees to his chest. He wrapped his arms around himself. He rocked back and forth. He was in shock. Can you speak? The officer asked. Can you tell us your name? The man mumbled something. I leaned closer. I could barely hear him. David, he said. My name is David. David, I said. Okay, David. We're going to get you out of here. We're going to call an ambulance. Just hang on. I looked at the officer. Call an ambulance, I said. He nodded. He pulled out his radio. He called for an ambulance. He called for backup. He said something about a possible abduction. A male victim. The man is alive. I looked at David. He was young. Maybe in his late 20s. His face was bruised. His arms were covered in scratches. Some of them were infected. He had been down there a long time. Not in the trunk, but in the house. He had been alive. He had been here. David, I said. Where's Sarah, my daughter? She lives here. Do you know where she is? At the mention of her name, David's face changed. He stopped rocking. He stopped crying. His eyes went wide. He grabbed my arm. His grip was surprisingly strong. Sarah, he said. You're Sarah's mom. Yes, I said. Yes. Where is she? David looked around the room. He looked at the door. He looked at the window. He started to shake again. He was searching for something. Someone. She's not here, he said. She's gone. She's not here. Gone where? I asked. Where did she go? She left, he said. She left a long time ago. She put me in here. She locked me in the trunk. Then she left. The words didn't make sense. They bounced around in my head. I couldn't process them. Sarah put you in the trunk? I asked. My Sarah, David nodded. His eyes were filled with tears. She's not who you think she is, he said. She's not who anyone thinks she is. The officer had called the ambulance. He was back. He was listening. His face was a mask of professional neutrality, but I could see the confusion in his eyes. He didn't understand either. You're telling us, the officer said, that Sarah Johnson, the owner of this house, locked you in a trunk under her bed? Yes, David said. He was rubbing his wrists. The skin was raw and red. She did. She kept me here for weeks. She'd come down and feed me. Sometimes she'd talk to me. Sometimes she'd just stare at me. She'd open the trunk a crack and slide food in. Then she'd lock it again. Weeks, I repeated. The number didn't fit. I had just seen her 2 weeks ago. She was fine. She was normal. She was my daughter. She told me things, David said. She told me I was special. She said I was a gift. From someone. From a man. She said he gave me to her. She said I was hers. What man? The officer asked. David shook his head. I don't know. She never said his name. She just said he brought me to her. He brought me to her doorstep. He said she could keep me. She said I was a present. I felt dizzy. I sat back on the floor. The room was spinning. The picture frames on the wall seemed to blur. The porcelain cats stared at me with their painted eyes. They seemed to be judging me, mocking me. I thought about Sarah. My little Sarah. The girl who couldn't sleep without her stuffed bear. The girl who cried when she stepped on a snail. The girl who volunteered at the animal shelter. The girl who baked cookies for her neighbors. The girl who held my hand when my husband died. She was gentle. She was kind. She was everything good in this world. And she had a man locked in a trunk under her bed. What else did she tell you? I asked. My voice was barely a whisper. Did she say why she did this? She said the world was bad, David said. She said people were evil. She said I was safe in there. She said she was protecting me. But I wasn't safe. I was trapped. I was suffocating. I couldn't move. I couldn't breathe. I thought I was going to die in there. I thought I was dead. He started crying again. The tears were raw and ugly. He was reliving it. Every single moment of it. The ambulance arrived. 2 paramedics came in with a stretcher. They took one look at David and started working. They checked his vitals. They put him on oxygen. They put a blanket around his shoulders. He was shivering despite the warm air. We need to get him to the hospital, one of the paramedics said. He's severely malnourished. He's dehydrated. He has multiple infections. He's lucky to be alive. They lifted him onto the stretcher. He reached out for my hand. He grabbed it. His grip was weak, but it was urgent. Don't trust her, he said. If you find her, don't trust her. She's not who you think she is. And then he was gone. They wheeled him out the front door. The sirens wailed for a few moments, then faded into the distance. I was alone in the house. The officer had to fill out reports. He had to interview neighbors. He had to search the house. He called for more officers. They fanned out through the house. They opened closets. They looked in the attic. They looked in the basement again. They were looking for signs of Sarah. For signs of where she had gone. I sat on the floor of the bedroom. The trunk was still open. The old clothes were scattered around. I picked up her varsity jacket. I held it to my face. It smelled like dust. It smelled like old memories. It smelled like my daughter. But my daughter was a monster. Or was she? I didn't know what to believe. I couldn't reconcile the Sarah I knew with the Sarah who had done this. There had to be a mistake. There had to be an explanation. The officer came back. We found something, he said. In the basement. I followed him down the stairs. The basement was cold. Damp. The single light bulb cast long shadows. He walked to the back wall. Behind the water heater. There was a door. A small, narrow door. I had never seen it before. Sarah had never mentioned it. Storage room, the officer said. Probably for the old furnace. He opened the door. Inside was a small, concrete room. It was empty. Except for one thing. A small metal cot. And a set of heavy iron rings bolted to the floor. These are restraints, the officer said. For ankles. For wrists. I stared at the cot. The mattress was stained. Dark stains. Old stains. The kind of stains that don't come out. He wasn't the first one, the officer said. She's done this before. The next 24 hours were a blur. I gave a statement to the police. I told them everything I knew, which wasn't much. I told them about the 5 days of silence. I told them about the trunk. I told them about David. They asked about Sarah. Her job. Her friends. Her habits. I told them what I could. But I was a mother, not a detective. I didn't know her secrets. I never knew her secrets. The police searched her house from top to bottom. They found her laptop. They found her phone, which I had handed over. They found a set of keys to a storage unit she had rented 6 months ago. They went to the storage unit. They found more restraints. More old clothes. A burner phone. A journal. The journal was the key. They let me read it. They needed me to make sense of it. I sat in the police station. I was in a small room. An interview room. The walls were gray. The table was metal. A single lamp cast a harsh light. I held the journal in my hands. The cover was leather. It was worn. It was old. I opened it. The handwriting was Sarah's. I knew it. I had seen it on birthday cards, on grocery lists, on notes she left me on the fridge. It was her handwriting, but it wasn't her voice. The words were dark. They were cold. They were the words of a stranger. May 15th. He brought me another one. His name is Michael. He says he's a journalist. He's asking too many questions. I think he's a cop. But he gave me the signal. He touched his ear. I know it's him. They're all the same. May 18th. It's done. Michael is in the basement. He's tied to the cot. He doesn't know where he is. He doesn't know who I am. He thinks I'm just a woman who needs help. He was so easy. So trusting. They're always so trusting. May 27th. Michael has been quiet for 3 days. He's dead. I don't know why. He just stopped moving. I didn't feed him much. I didn't want him to get strong. But he was doing fine. He was talking to me. He was telling me about his family. Then he just stopped. June 2nd. I buried Michael in the woods. By the old oak tree. The one with the twisted trunk. The ground was soft. It was easy. I covered him with leaves. The police will never find him. They never find them. June 15th. The man came again. He was watching me from across the street. He was in a blue sedan. He's always in a blue sedan. He doesn't come close. He just watches. I know he's my father. He's my real father. He's the one who started this. He's the one who brought me the first one. He said it was a gift. A present for his little girl. He said I could do whatever I wanted with them. He said they wouldn't be missed. My father. Sarah's father. My husband. The man I loved. The man who died 5 years ago. He was a part of this. He was the one who gave her those men. He was the one who taught her. I couldn't read anymore. I threw the journal on the table. I put my head in my hands. I couldn't breathe. I felt like I was drowning. The walls were closing in. The lamp was too bright. The room was too small. The detective who was handling the case came in. His name was Detective Miller. He was older. Gray hair. Kind eyes. But his eyes were hard now. They were focused. We're going to find her, he said. We have her laptop. We have her phone. We're tracking her bank records. We're talking to her friends. We're going to find her. I nodded. I couldn't speak. I could barely think. There's something else, he said. We found footage from a traffic cam. 2 days ago. A car that matches her description was heading west. Towards Pennsylvania. We're following up on it. Pennsylvania, I asked. Why would she go to Pennsylvania? Does she have any family there? He asked. Friends. Anyone she might be staying with. I thought about it. My sister lived in Pittsburgh. Sarah's aunt. She hadn't seen her in years. They weren't close. There was no one else. No one I knew. She had an aunt, I said. But they haven't spoken in a long time. A disagreement. Something about money. I don't know the details. Could she be going there? He asked. I don't know, I said. I don't know anything anymore. I went home. The house was empty. My house. The one I shared with my husband. The one we raised Sarah in. The kitchen was the same. The living room was the same. The photographs on the wall were the same. But everything felt different. The air felt different. The silence felt different. It was heavy. It was suffocating. I walked into Sarah's old room. I hadn't changed it. Not since she moved out. It was her room. Her childhood. Her pink comforter. Her stuffed animals on the shelf. Her books. Her old school projects. A piece of her I had preserved. I sat on her bed. I looked around. I saw the things I had always seen. The things I had held onto. The things I thought mattered. But they didn't matter. They were just things. They were a lie. They were a cover. I opened her closet. The clothes she left behind. The dresses she wore to prom. The jeans she wore to high school. The sweater she wore the day she got into college. I pulled the sweater off the hanger. I held it to my chest. I cried. I sobbed. I couldn't stop. I cried for David. I cried for Michael. I cried for the men I didn't know about. The ones the journal mentioned. The ones who were buried in the woods. The ones who were never found. I cried for their families. The mothers who were waiting for them. The mothers who would never see them again. And I cried for Sarah. My Sarah. My daughter. The girl I loved. The girl I thought I knew. She was a stranger. She was a monster. She was broken. I called my sister. I told her everything. She was in Pittsburgh. I was in Cleveland. She listened in silence. She didn't say much. She was in shock. We all were. Did you know? I asked her. Did you know about her father? There were rumors, she said. When we were younger. Your husband, he had a darkness. Our mother warned you. But you never listened. You loved him too much to see it. I knew about the rumors. My mother had told me. She said he was strange. She said he kept to himself. She said there was something off about him. I didn't believe her. I loved him. I trusted him. I built a life with him. And he ruined it. He ruined everything. He took my daughter. He twisted her. He made her into this. He gave her the first one. A gift. A present for his little girl. The next day, the police found Sarah's car. It was in a parking lot in a small town in Pennsylvania. It was abandoned. The doors were unlocked. The keys were in the ignition. There was no sign of her. But there was blood. A small amount. On the seat. And on the floor. It wasn't hers. She hurt someone else, Detective Miller said. We don't know who. But we found a missing persons report from last week. A man named Kevin. He disappeared from his home. His car was found in the same area. We're looking into it. I was back at the police station. I was sitting in the same gray room. The lamp was still too bright. The table was still cold. Detective Miller was there. He was holding a piece of paper. Her phone records, he said. She made a call. Yesterday. It was to a number we're still trying to trace. But we think it's her father. We think he's alive. My husband was dead. I had seen the body. I had been to the funeral. I had cried over his grave. He was dead. Wasn't he? It's not possible, I said. I buried him. He's dead. The call was made from a phone that doesn't exist, the detective said. But it pinged a cell tower in the same area where her car was found. We're searching the area. We're going to find him. And we're going to find her. I felt a numbness spread through my body. A cold numbness. It started in my fingers and crept up my arms. It settled in my chest. It was a protective numbness. A way to survive. I needed it. I needed to not feel anything. Because if I felt anything, I would shatter. He's alive, I said. He was never dead. He faked his death. He left us. He left me. He left her. But he never really left. He was always there. Watching. Waiting. We have a team headed to the area now, Miller said. We'll call you when we know more. I went home. I didn't wait for the call. I sat in my house. I stared at the photographs. The ones of my husband. The ones of Sarah. The family we were. The family we pretended to be. The family that never actually existed. I thought about David. I thought about his face when he said, "Don't trust her." I thought about his broken, haunted eyes. He was telling me the truth. He was telling me the truth, and I didn't want to believe him. But I did. I believed him. My daughter was not who I thought she was. She was a killer. She was a monster. And her father was still alive. He was out there. He was with her. They were together. They were doing what they had always done. They were hurting people. They were taking people. They were burying them in the woods. And I was helpless. I was a mother. I was supposed to protect her. I was supposed to see the signs. I was supposed to stop it. But I didn't. I saw nothing. I knew nothing. I was blind. I couldn't stay in the house anymore. I packed a small bag. I got in my car. I started driving. I didn't know where I was going. I just knew I had to move. I had to find her. I had to find them. I had to stop them. I headed towards Pennsylvania. I drove through the night. The roads were empty. The headlights illuminated the dark asphalt. I passed through small towns. Through farmland. Through woods. The world was dark and quiet. But my mind was loud. It was filled with noise. Her laughter. His voice. The sound of the trunk lid closing. I stopped at a rest area. I bought a coffee. I sat in my car and drank it. The coffee was bitter. It was hot. It burned my throat. I needed it. I needed the pain. It made me feel real. It made me feel alive. I checked my phone. A message from Detective Miller. They had found the cabin in a remote area of the forest. It was owned by a shell company. The shell company was linked to my husband. He had been living there. He had been living there for years, faking his own death, hiding from the world, watching his daughter from afar, guiding her, encouraging her. I typed in the address. It was an hour away. I started the car. I drove. The cabin was deep in the woods. The road was unpaved. My car bounced over ruts and rocks. The trees closed in on both sides. The branches scraped against the windows. It felt like I was driving into a nightmare, like the forest was swallowing me. I saw flashing lights ahead, police cars, an ambulance. I pulled over. I got out of the car. A police officer approached me. He blocked my path. Ma'am, you can't be here. This is a crime scene. I'm her mother, I said. Sarah Johnson's mother. I need to see her. He looked at me. His face softened. He recognized the pain in my eyes. He had seen it before. 1,000 times. In 1,000 mothers. She's not here, he said. We found the cabin. But she's gone. They're both gone. I pushed past him. I ran towards the cabin. The door was open. The police had already gone through it. I walked inside. The cabin was small. One room, a kitchenette, a bed, a table, and a set of iron rings bolted to the floor. The same as the basement. The same as the storage room. The floor was stained. Dark stains. Old stains. The kind that don't come out. She had another one, I said to Detective Miller. He was standing in the doorway. His face was grim. We found evidence, he said. A wallet. An ID. A man named Robert. He's been missing for 2 weeks. We're still looking for his body. She killed him, I said. They killed him. And they're going to kill again. We have a manhunt, Miller said. We're tracking them. They can't get far. But they're in the woods. The forest is dense. It's hard to search. I walked over to the bed. The sheets were rumpled. The pillow had an indentation. Someone had slept there recently. I touched the pillow. It was cold, but it smelled like her. That familiar scent. Her shampoo. Her perfume. The smell of my daughter. She was here, I said. She was sleeping here. She was with him. The man she thought was her father. Miller came over. He stood next to me. We think it's a trap, he said. The cabin. The evidence. It was left deliberately. They knew we were coming. They knew we'd find it. They're trying to lead us somewhere. Where? I asked. Into the woods, he said. There's a trail behind the cabin. We're following it. But it's rough. It's slow going. They have a head start. I walked to the back of the cabin. There was a door. It opened onto a narrow path. The path led into the darkness of the forest. The trees were thick. The canopy blocked the light. It was twilight, even in the middle of the day. The air was damp and cold. The path was wet. Muddy. They went this way, I said. They're out there. They're in there. Miller put a hand on my shoulder. We'll find them, he said. We have dogs. We have helicopters. We're not going to stop looking. But I knew the truth. I knew it deep in my bones. They didn't want to be found. They were too good at hiding. They had been doing it for years. My husband had hidden from me for 5 years. My daughter had hidden from me her whole life. They were experts at not being seen. I walked back into the cabin. I sat on the bed. The mattress was lumpy. The springs creaked. I stared at the wall. There was a small shelf. It had a few items on it. A book. A candle. A photograph. I picked up the photograph. It was me. It was a picture of me. I was younger. I was smiling. I was at the beach. I was holding Sarah. She was a baby. She was in my arms. She was laughing. I looked at the back of the photograph. There was a message. In my husband's handwriting. She's ours. She was always ours. And there's nothing you can do to stop us. I dropped the photograph. It fluttered to the floor. I felt the numbness start to crack. The protective shell was breaking. The anger was seeping through. The rage. The hatred. The despair. They had taken her. They had twisted her. They had stolen her from me. They had made her into something inhuman. Something unrecognizable. And they were proud of it. They were gloating. They were taunting me. I got up. I walked out of the cabin. I walked past the police cars. Past the officers. Past Detective Miller. I walked to my car. I opened the door. I sat behind the wheel. I put my hands on the steering wheel. I stared ahead. The sun was setting. The sky was turning orange and red. The colors of fire. The colors of blood. I started the engine. I drove back to the main road. I didn't know where I was going, but I knew I wasn't going home. I couldn't go home. Not until this was over. Not until I found her. Not until I ended this. I drove for hours. The sun went down. The sky went dark. The headlights cut through the night. I passed through towns. Through cities. Through the empty spaces in between. I thought about my husband. The man I loved. The man I trusted. The man I married. He was a monster. He had always been a monster. He had hidden it from me. He had hidden it from everyone. He had lived a double life. A life of darkness and cruelty. And he had shared it with her. He had shared it with my daughter. I thought about Sarah. The little girl who used to hold my hand. The little girl who used to kiss my cheek. The little girl who used to tell me she loved me. Was it all a lie? Was any of it real? Did she ever love me, or was I just another part of her cover, another part of her mask? I thought about David. I thought about his broken body. His shattered soul. He was alive. He was going to live. But he would never be the same. He would never get over what she had done to him. He would carry that scar for the rest of his life. He would carry the memory of the trunk. The darkness. The scratching. The suffocating fear. I thought about Michael. I thought about Kevin. I thought about Robert. The men who didn't survive. The men who were buried in shallow graves in the woods. The men who would never be found. The men who would never be mourned. The men who had mothers too. Mothers who were waiting. Mothers who would never see their sons again. I felt the tears start to fall. They were hot on my cheeks. They blurred my vision. I wiped them away with the back of my hand. I couldn't afford to cry. I couldn't afford to break down. I had to keep going. I had to find them. I pulled over at a gas station. I filled up the tank. I bought another coffee. I stood outside the car. The night air was cold. It bit at my skin. I shivered. But I didn't get back in the car. I just stood there, staring at the dark sky. The stars were out. They were cold and distant. They didn't care about me. They didn't care about any of this. My phone buzzed. It was Detective Miller. We have a lead, he said. A hiker found a campsite in the woods. About 5 miles from the cabin. There were signs of recent activity. A fire pit. Some food wrappers. A blanket. We think they stayed there overnight. Are they still there? I asked. No, he said. They're gone. But we found footprints. 2 sets. One large. One small. They're heading deeper into the forest. We're following them. We have dogs on the trail. Which way? I asked. North, he said. They're heading north. Towards the state line. I thanked him. I hung up. I got back in my car. I started the engine. I looked at the map on my phone. The state line was about 30 miles away. I knew the area. There was a small town up there. A place called Millbrook. It was a dying town. A town that time had forgotten. A place where people went to disappear. I pointed the car north. I pressed the gas pedal. The engine roared. I drove into the darkness. The road was winding. It climbed into the hills. The trees grew thicker. The houses grew fewer. Soon there was nothing but forest on both sides. I thought about what I would do when I found them. I didn't have a plan. I didn't have a weapon. I didn't have any skills. I was just a mother. A grieving, angry mother. But that would have to be enough. That would have to be everything. The road narrowed. It turned to gravel. The headlights bounced off the dirt. I slowed down. The forest was closing in. The branches reached out like skeletal hands. The wind howled through the trees. It sounded like screaming. I saw a light ahead. A small, flickering light. A campfire. In the middle of the woods. I pulled the car over. I turned off the engine. I killed the headlights. I sat in the darkness. I watched the fire. There were two figures sitting next to it. One was tall, broad-shouldered. The other was smaller, slender. They were sitting close together. Their faces were hidden in the shadows. But I knew who they were. I knew them both. I had loved them both. And they had betrayed me. They had betrayed everyone. I got out of the car. I closed the door softly. I started walking towards the fire. The leaves crunched under my feet. The sound was loud in the quiet night. They heard me. They turned their heads. Sarah stood up. She looked at me. Her face was calm, serene. She smiled. It was a sweet smile. The smile of the daughter I used to know. The daughter I thought I had. Mom, she said. I knew you'd come. Mom, she said. I knew you'd come. Her voice was soft, warm. It was the voice that had sung me lullabies when I was sick. The voice that had called me every Sunday for 10 years. The voice that had told me she loved me 1,000 times. It was the voice of my daughter. But it was empty. Hollow. The warmth was just an echo. A memory of something that no longer existed. I stopped walking. I was 10 feet from the fire. The flames cast dancing shadows across her face. She looked beautiful. She always looked beautiful. Her hair was clean. Her clothes were neat. She didn't look like a fugitive. She didn't look like a killer. She looked like a woman sitting by a campfire. Like she was on a camping trip. Like this was all normal. The man next to her stood up. He was tall. His hair was gray. His face was lined with age. He looked older than I remembered. But it was him. It was my husband. The man I had buried. The man I had mourned. The man I had loved. Hello, Margaret, he said. His voice was the same. Deep. Calm. Controlled. It had always been controlled. Even when he was angry. Even when he was happy. He never raised it. He never lost it. It was a voice that could lie to you for 40 years and never break. He was a master of control. I felt the rage swell in my chest. It was hot. It was blinding. It was all I could feel. The numbness was gone. The grief was gone. There was only rage. Pure, burning rage. Don't call me that, I said. You lost the right to call me that when you faked your death. When you left me. When you turned our daughter into a monster. He smiled. It was a sad smile. The kind of smile you give a child who doesn't understand something. Monster is such a harsh word, he said. Sarah is not a monster. She is a survivor. She is a predator. There is a difference. Monsters are mindless. Sarah is anything but mindless. She is exquisite. She is perfect. I looked at Sarah. She was still smiling. She was looking at her father with adoration. With love. The kind of love I used to see in her eyes. The kind of love I thought was for me. Perfect. I said. She kept a man in a trunk under her bed for weeks. She starved him. She tortured him. She killed others. She buried them in the woods. That's not perfect. That's evil. Sarah laughed. It was a light laugh. A carefree laugh. The kind she used to laugh when she was a child. When she was playing in the backyard. When she was chasing fireflies. It was the laugh of innocence. But there was no innocence in her eyes. Her eyes were cold. Hard. They were the eyes of a predator. Evil is subjective, Mom, she said. What I do is necessary. It's a cleansing. The world is full of bad men. Men who hurt women. Men who take what they want. Men who think they can get away with anything. I'm just doing what the system won't. I'm bringing justice. Justice, I said. You're not bringing justice. You're not cleansing anything. You're a killer. You're a sick, broken woman who does terrible things. And he did this to you. He made you this way. I pointed at my husband. My hands were shaking. I could feel the tears starting to form again. I blinked them away. I wouldn't cry in front of them. I wouldn't give them that satisfaction. He didn't make me anything, Sarah said. Her voice was sharp now. The warmth was gone. He showed me what I could be. He taught me who I really am. I was always this way, Mom. You just didn't want to see it. You never wanted to see it. You were a child, I said. You were a little girl. You couldn't have been this way. Not without him. Not without him poisoning you. Twisting you. It wasn't poison, my husband said. It was truth. I gave her the truth. The truth about the world. The truth about men. The truth about what she could become if she had the courage. And she had the courage. She always had it. I just helped her find it. I looked at them. The two of them standing there. Father and daughter. Partners in crime. They were more alike than I had ever realized. They had the same calm eyes. The same controlled voices. The same cold, calculating intelligence. They were cut from the same cloth. They were made of the same darkness. Why, I asked. Why did you do this? Why did you hurt people? Why did you take them? Why did you kill them? Because they deserved it, Sarah said. Her voice was matter of fact. Like she was explaining something simple. Every one of them. They were bad men. I checked. I researched. I made sure. They had done terrible things. Things that would never be punished. Things that the police would never care about. I was their punishment. I was their judgment. You don't get to judge, I said. You don't get to be the judge, jury, and executioner. That's not how it works. That's not how any of this works. It works exactly how I want it to work, Sarah said. I make the rules now. I've always made the rules. You just didn't know it. You thought I was your sweet little girl. Your innocent daughter. The one who needed your protection. But I never needed your protection, Mom. I never needed you. The words hit me like a physical blow. I staggered back a step. I felt the air leave my lungs. I couldn't breathe. The fire flickered. The shadows danced. I looked at her face. She was serious now. She was looking at me with pity. With contempt. All those years, I said. All those years of being your mother. Of loving you. Of caring for you. It meant nothing to you. It meant something, she said. It meant I had a cover. A perfect cover. A sweet, innocent daughter with a loving mother. No one ever suspected me. No one ever looked twice. I was just Sarah. The girl next door. The nice girl who volunteers at the shelter. The girl who bakes cookies for her neighbors. It was perfect. You were perfect. You were everything I needed. My husband took a step towards me. He reached out his hand. I flinched. I stepped back. He stopped. He put his hand down. Margaret, he said. You can still join us. You can still be part of this. We can be a family again. The three of us. Together. You can help us. You can see the truth. You can understand what we're doing. Join you, I said. You want me to join you in murdering people? We're not murdering people, he said. We're correcting them. We're removing the bad ones. The ones who hurt others. The ones who get away with it. It's a service. A public service. We're doing what no one else will do. I shook my head. I looked at them both. I saw them clearly now. Not as my husband and my daughter, but as strangers. As dangerous, broken people who had hurt so many. Who had destroyed so many lives. Who had destroyed my life. You're both insane, I said. You're both completely insane. And I'm going to stop you. I'm going to make sure you never hurt anyone again. Sarah laughed again. It was a bitter laugh this time. A cruel laugh. Stop us, she said. How you're alone, Mom. You have no one. No weapon. No plan. You came here because you love me. Because you thought you could save me. But I don't need saving. I don't want to be saved. I'm exactly what I want to be. What I was always meant to be. She took a step towards me. Her eyes were locked on mine. There was no warmth in them. No recognition. No love. There was nothing. Just emptiness. The problem with mothers, she said, is that they always think they can save their children. They think love is enough. But love isn't enough, Mom. Love is blind. Love is weak. Love makes you stupid. Love made you stupid. You never saw what I was. You never saw what you raised. And now you're here. And there's nothing you can do to change it. I reached into my pocket. My fingers closed around my phone. I had kept it hidden. I had kept it silent. I had texted Detective Miller before I got out of the car. I had sent him my location. I had told him I found them. I'm not alone, I said. The police are on their way. They know where you are. They're coming for you. Both of you. It's over. For the first time, I saw a flicker of doubt in her eyes. She looked at her father. He looked at her. There was a moment of silence. Then he laughed. A low, rumbling laugh. The police, he said. You think the police can stop us? We've been evading them for years. We know the forest. We know the trails. We'll be gone before they even get close. We're always gone before they get close. Not this time, I said. This time, you're not going anywhere. I held up my phone. The screen was lit up. It showed my location. It showed the message I had sent. It showed that Detective Miller had responded. He was 10 minutes out. 10 minutes. That was all I needed. Sarah's face hardened. The flicker of doubt was gone. It was replaced by cold, determined anger. You shouldn't have done that, Mom, she said. You should have just stayed home. You should have just grieved. You should have just left us alone. She reached behind her back. She pulled out a knife. It was a hunting knife. The blade was long. It glinted in the firelight. Her hand was steady. Her grip was sure. I don't want to hurt you, she said. But I will. If you make me, I will. I stared at the knife. I stared at my daughter. The daughter who used to hold my hand. The daughter who used to kiss my cheek. The daughter who used to tell me she loved me. And now she was pointing a knife at me. She was threatening my life. I'm not afraid of you, I said. It was a lie. I was terrified. But I needed her to believe it. I needed to buy time. 10 minutes. Just 10 minutes. She advanced. Her father watched from behind. He was smiling. He was enjoying this. The sick, twisted bastard was enjoying watching his daughter threaten her mother. Sarah, I said. I love you. I've always loved you. I'll always love you. No matter what. But this isn't who you are. This isn't who you have to be. You can stop. You can change. You can come back. I'll help you. I'll get you help. Whatever it takes. Just put the knife down. Help me, she said. I don't need your help, Mom. I never needed your help. You were never there. You were never really there. You were always too busy being perfect. Too busy pretending everything was fine. You ignored the signs. You ignored me. When I was hurting. When I was struggling. You just smiled and told me it would be okay. But it was never okay. And you never helped. She was 5 feet away. She raised the knife. She was going to strike. I could see it in her eyes. The hesitation was gone. The doubt was gone. There was nothing left but the darkness. I heard a sound in the distance. The sound of engines. The sound of sirens. The police were coming. They were almost here. Her father heard it, too. His smile disappeared. He turned his head. He was listening. He knew what it meant. Sarah, he said. We have to go. Now. She looked at him. Then she looked at me. The knife was still raised. Her hand was shaking. For the first time, I saw something in her eyes. A glimmer of something. I didn't know what it was. Maybe it was the last shred of the daughter I used to know. Maybe it was just my imagination. I love you, Mom, she said. Her voice was soft. It was the voice of my little girl. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. She turned and ran. Her father followed. They disappeared into the darkness of the forest. The trees swallowed them up. They were gone. I fell to my knees. The fire burned in front of me. The sirens grew louder. The police cars pulled up. Officers spilled out. They ran past me. They chased after them. They disappeared into the woods. I sat on the cold ground. I stared at the fire. I couldn't move. I couldn't think. I just sat there. Waiting. Waiting for something. I didn't know what. I didn't know if it would ever come. Detective Miller found me an hour later. He knelt down beside me. He put a hand on my shoulder. They got away, he said. We lost them in the dark. But we know the area. We'll find them. It's only a matter of time. I nodded. I couldn't speak. I just stared at the dying embers of the fire. We'll keep looking, he said. We won't stop. We'll find her. I promise. I didn't believe him. I knew the truth. Sarah was gone. They were both gone. They had been running for years. They would keep running. They would never stop. And I would never see her again. Not the real her. Not the daughter I loved. She was lost. She was gone. She was a stranger. I looked up at the sky. The stars were still there. Cold and distant. They didn't care. No one cared. I was alone. I had always been alone. I just didn't know it. I stood up. I walked away from the fire. I walked towards my car. The police officers moved out of my way. They didn't try to stop me. They just let me go. I got in my car. I sat behind the wheel. I put my hands on the steering wheel. I stared ahead. The night was dark. The forest was dark. Everything was dark. I started the engine. I drove away. I didn't look back. I couldn't. I had left my daughter in the woods. I had left her with the monster who made her. And I had no idea if she would ever come back. Or if I would ever find her. I drove home. The house was empty. The photographs were still on the wall. The memories were still there. But they were all lies. Every single one of them. I sat in the dark. I waited. I didn't know what I was waiting for. Maybe for the police to call. Maybe for her to call. Maybe for something to change. But nothing changed. Nothing ever changed. The next day, Detective Miller came to see me. He had a file in his hand. He sat down across from me. His face was serious. His eyes were tired. We found more bodies, he said. In the woods near the cabin. 6 of them. All men. All missing for years. We're identifying them now. We'll notify their families. I nodded. I didn't say anything. There was nothing to say. Sarah is still out there, he said. We don't know where. But we'll find her. It's only a matter of time. I looked at him. I saw the exhaustion in his eyes. The frustration. The dedication. Thank you, I said. For everything. Thank you for trying. He nodded. He got up. He left. I was alone again. I sat in the silence. I thought about Sarah. I thought about my husband. I thought about the men they had killed. The men who would never come home. The mothers who would never see their sons again. I thought about David. I wondered how he was doing. I wondered if he would ever recover. I hoped he would. I hoped he would find peace. And I hoped, somehow, somewhere, Sarah would find peace, too. Not in the way she thought. Not in the darkness. But in the light. In the love I still had for her. In the hope I still held. But I knew. I knew it was unlikely. I knew she was lost. I knew she was gone. And I had to find a way to live with that. To live with the loss. To live with the grief. To live with the mother I had been. The mother who didn't see. The mother who didn't know. The mother who loved too much and saw too little. That was my cross to bear. My guilt to carry. My pain to endure. And I would endure it. I would carry it. I would live with it. Because that's what mothers do. We carry the weight. We bear the burden. We love even when there's nothing left to love. We hope even when there's no hope left. And we keep going. We keep moving forward. We keep trying. We keep loving. Because that's all we can do. That's all any of us can do. Sarah was out there somewhere. She was running. She was hiding. She was killing. And I couldn't stop her. I couldn't save her. I could only love her. From afar. From a distance. From the place where hope and grief meet. The house was quiet. The photographs stared down at me. My husband's smile. Sarah's smile. They were frozen in time. They were a lie. A beautiful, heartbreaking lie. I got up. I walked to the window. I looked out at the street. At the neighbors. At the cars. At the world going by. It was the same world. The same world I had always known. But it was different now. It was colder. It was darker. It was lonelier. I heard scratching. It was faint. I turned my head. I looked around the room. The scratching was soft. Rhythmic. It was coming from somewhere. I followed the sound. It was coming from the closet. The hall closet. The one I used to keep winter coats and old boxes. I walked over to it. I opened the door. The scratching was louder now. It was coming from inside a box. An old box. A box I hadn't opened in years. I pulled the box out. I opened the lid. Inside were old photographs. Old letters. Old memories. I sifted through them. I found a small wooden box. It was locked. I didn't have a key. I broke the lock with a screwdriver. Inside the wooden box was a journal. A journal I had never seen before. It was old. The leather was cracked. I opened it. The handwriting was familiar. It was my daughter's handwriting. But it was old. It was from when she was a child. A teenager. The first entry was dated 15 years ago. I know what my father does. I know what he did. I found the basement. I found the room. I heard the screams. He told me to stay quiet. He said it was our secret. Our family secret. He said I was special. He said I was chosen. I turned the page. I kept reading. He said I could join him. He said I could help. He said I could make the world better. He said I was born for it. I know he's right. I feel it. I feel the darkness inside me. I feel it calling. I feel it waiting. I sat down on the floor. The journal was heavy in my hands. The weight of it pressed down on me. The weight of 15 years of secrets. 15 years of lies. 15 years of darkness. I had found the truth. But it was too late. It was always too late. The truth was there. The truth was always there. I just didn't want to see it. I just closed my eyes. And now it was everywhere. The truth was everywhere. And I couldn't escape it. I couldn't hide from it. I couldn't pretend anymore. The scratching continued. It was soft. Distant. It was the sound of memory. The sound of pain. The sound of the daughter I lost. The daughter I would never get back. I closed the journal. I held it to my chest. I closed my eyes. I let the tears fall. And in the darkness of my empty house, surrounded by the ghosts of my family, I whispered her name. Sarah. But there was no answer. There never would be. The scratching stopped. I sat in the silence. Alone with the truth. I had lost her. I had lost them all. And there was nothing I could do to bring them back. I sat in the silence for a long time. The journal was cold against my chest. The house was dark. The world outside was dark. Everything was dark. But in that darkness, I found something I had lost. Clarity. My daughter was gone. She had been gone for years. Not just the 5 days I couldn't reach her. She had been gone since she was a child. Since the moment my husband opened that basement door and showed her what he really was. He stole her from me. He twisted her. He turned her into a stranger wearing my daughter's face. And I let it happen. I was blind. I was trusting. I was stupid. But I was done being blind. I was done being trusting. I was done being stupid. I got up off the floor. I put the journal on the table. I walked to the kitchen. I made a pot of coffee. I drank it black. It was bitter. It burned. I needed it. I called Detective Miller. I told him about the journal. I told him about the entries. I told him about the basement. The one in my house. The one I never knew existed. The one my husband had built before he faked his death. He listened. He didn't interrupt. He just listened. We're coming, he said. We'll search the house. We'll find the basement. We'll find everything. I waited. The police came. They searched. They found the hidden door behind the bookshelf in the study. They found the stairs leading down. They found the room. The iron rings bolted to the floor. The stains on the concrete. The old restraints. The evidence of years of cruelty. Years of secrets. Years of lies. I watched them work. I felt nothing. The numbness was back. But it was a different kind of numbness. It wasn't the numbness of grief. It was the numbness of acceptance. The numbness of knowing. The numbness of letting go. I sat on the porch. I watched the sun rise. The sky turned pink and orange. The birds started singing. The world was waking up. But I felt like I was still asleep. Like I was in a dream. A nightmare I couldn't wake up from. Detective Miller came out. He sat down next to me. He looked at me with something like pity. Something like respect. We found everything, he said. The evidence. The records. The names. We're going to build a case. We're going to find her. We're going to bring her in. I promise you that. I nodded. I didn't say anything. There was nothing to say. I had said everything. I had felt everything. Now there was only silence. Only waiting. Only the slow, painful process of moving forward. She's still my daughter, I said. I know what she did. I know what she is. But she's still my daughter. And I still love her. I will always love her. That's what mothers do. We love even when it hurts. We love even when it breaks us. Miller looked at me. His eyes were soft. He understood. He had seen it before. In so many mothers. In so many families. The love that never dies. The love that persists even in the face of horror. Thank you, he said. For everything. For not giving up. For not running away. For standing your ground. I smiled. It was a weak smile. A broken smile. But it was a smile. What mothers do, I said. We don't give up. We don't run away. We stand our ground. For our children. Always. No matter what. The sun rose higher. The light spread across the yard. Across the street. Across the world. It was a new day. A day without her. A day without him. A day without the lies. A day of truth. A day of pain. A day of healing. I stood up. I walked back into the house. I started cleaning. I started throwing things away. The photographs. The memories. The lies. I was making room for the truth. For the pain. For the healing. For the life I had to live now. A life without my daughter. A life without my husband. A life with the scars they left behind. A life with the love I still carried. A love that would never die. A love that would always be there. Waiting. Hoping. Loving. No matter what. I picked up the journal one last time. I read the last entry. The one I had missed. The one that changed everything. I know my mother loves me. I know she always will. But I can't be what she wants me to be. I can't be good. I can't be pure. I can't be innocent. I'm broken. I'm dark. I'm him. I'm my father's daughter. And there's nothing she can do to save me. There's nothing anyone can do. This is who I am. This is who I'll always be. I closed the journal. I placed it on the table. I walked out of the house. I locked the door behind me. I got in my car. I drove away. I didn't look back. And I kept driving. Into the unknown. Into the future. Into whatever came next. Because that's what mothers do. We keep going. We keep loving. We keep hoping. Even when it hurts. Even when it breaks us. Even when there's nothing left. We keep going. And maybe, somewhere down the road, I would find her. Maybe I would save her. Maybe she would save herself. Maybe. Just maybe. But for now, I had to live. I had to survive. I had to love. And I would. Always.